evening. Welcome to Mostly Arsenal, the Topical Storm, episode 2. And this one I've cunningly called the Crimbo Limbo episode. Now, for those of you not aware, the Crimbo Limbo is that weird bit of time in between Christmas and New Year where you don't really know what day it is or what you're supposed to be fucking doing. It's odd. So anyway, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk very briefly about the Norwich game. I'll say very briefly because I didn't actually get to see it. More about that in a minute. I've also got some very interesting stats regarding the last 4 Arsenal performances in the Premier League. Again, real fun story about that, but we'll get into that in a bit. And then we're going to talk very, very briefly about the upcoming transfer window and also some thoughts, opinions and a fun anecdote about a past Christmas. Now, before we get into it, if you like the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel if you feel it's right that you should do so. That would be absolutely awesome. But without further ado, let's jump in. Right, so the Norwich game. Like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into this. If you want awesome stats and analysis, what you should do is check out We Are the Arsenal, hosted by Jake Clegg. I watched it last night. It was absolutely brilliant. And if you want stats and analysis, that's the place to go. I'll drop the link in the description below. So definitely check that out. But the things that I noticed mostly about the Norwich game, I was expecting us to win, which I normally hope that we'll win, but I never really go into a game really confident that we're going to absolutely smash it. But I kind of was with this one. You know, Norwich, they're having a tough time, and unfortunately they're destined to go straight back down, which is a shame because I quite like Norwich. But the first thing I noticed was with KT's goal. There was a bit just before the play unravelled. Laka was battling in the centre circle and he battled really hard and he won the ball and he passed it on to Odegaard. Odegaard lost it, but almost instantly Martinelli won it back, gave it back to Odegaard, and then he pinged the ball across and KT scored. It was just the press and the fight back and the desire to win the ball back really quick. I thought was really impressive. The second bit I noticed was Emil Smith-Rowe's no-look pass to Lacazette when we won the penalty. Now, he hasn't been credited with an assist for that, but I think, I don't like the pre-assist stats, but I think that's worthy of an assist because without him doing what he did, we would have the opportunity for the penalty, and Laka obviously wouldn't have the penalty to score. That really is literally all I've got to say on that game. I didn't get a chance to watch it, which was it was quite painful. It's the first game that I haven't watched in probably about 2 years, and I found it really hard, which sounds very selfish because I was with loved ones, spending a lovely day with them, but it made me realise just how obsessed and addicted I am to Arsenal Football Club. So yeah, that's why I didn't get to watch the game. Now, moving on to our stats from the last 4 games. Fun story. I spent probably about 2 hours this afternoon gathering loads and loads of stats, player by player, and I thought I had it absolutely nailed. Now, as I was setting up tonight, the tripod that I got my ring light on, I think it might have accidentally been sat on the delete button on my keyboard where I kept all my notes on my computer, and when I look back, I literally got like the top 2 lines of everything I wanted to talk about. So I'm hoping that I've committed all this stuff to memory because I was looking at it all afternoon. So fingers crossed we're going to get this. If not, if you like a host who displays complete and utter ineptitude and a production that is as amateurish as it possibly can be, then this is the place for you, my friends. Right, so some of the things I noticed, I looked at the stats from the last 4 games, i.e. after Orbrad, the captaincy, took off him, compared with the previous 15 games. Now, bear in mind, we are 19 games into the season. That's officially the halfway point, and we're 4th. I know other teams have got games in hand, but I'm very, very happy to be able to say that we're fourth in the league at the halfway point. That's actually a really, really big deal for me. Now, the things that I did notice in the last 4 games, I know we've played Southampton, West Ham, Leeds and Norwich. Now, West Ham is always going to be a tough game, and they're very, very evenly matched with us, both in the league, squads, form, performances, everything. But you look at the other 3 games, you think, yeah, they should be W's on the board for those. But looking at the breakdown of the stats now in those last 4 games, obviously we've got 100% win ratio. We're averaging 3.5 goals a game. We're also averaging a quarter of a goal a game conceded. Bearing in mind we've scored 14, we've conceded 1, and we've got a goal difference plus 13 in those 4 games. Now that's excellent, especially over this tricky period, which you look at last season, we were absolutely dire, and it shows real progression as far as I'm concerned. Not just the fact that we're winning these games, but we're winning them well. And these are games I would look at where we would remedy our previously substandard goal difference, and you know we're pushing it back up into the pluses now. Pardon me. So this is really, really good. Whilst I belch, by the way, I'd just like to thank the sponsors of tonight's show, who are Stella Artois, Desperado, Captain Morgan's Spiced Gold, and the good people at Pinot Grigio. Nice job, you lot. Anyway, moving swiftly on. I'm looking at other stats now. I don't really want to focus on the stats beforehand. I don't want this to turn into an anti-Aubameyang witch hunt. But the big thing for me has been the nature of the performances since the decision was made to strip him of the captaincy, and the fact that he hasn't worked his way back into the plans of the manager. It either speaks volumes about their relationship or the character of the player, that maybe he hasn't, you know, he's just not got it within him to try to get himself back into the side. That's absolutely fine, that's fair enough. But the thing that struck me is there are 5 players who have really, really benefited from Aubameyang not being there, and the system that Arteta wants to play seems to suit them players. Now, the players I'm talking about are Lacazette, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Gabriel Martinelli, Martin Odegaard. In those 4 games, we've scored 14 goals, we've conceded 1. If you also take into account there have been a goal apiece by Gabriel and Kieran Tierney, all 5 of those players I mentioned previously have been scoring and assisting goals. Of those 14 goals, those 5 players have scored 12 of them and assisted 11. Now, I cannot off the top of my head remember the exact figures for each of them, but the fact that they are responsible for 12 of those 14 goals between the 5 of them, and the goals scored and the assists is really well matched out. Like I said, between the 5 of them, they scored 12 and assisted 11. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and it shows that they are suited to this system. Now, Lacazette, it's almost like he's playing as a false 9. I don't see him as entirely a false 9, but we've been saying this for ages. His all-round play is suited to this formation and these tactics. And when you look at how far on Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka were yesterday, you look at the heat maps and everything like that, they were actually further on than Alexander Lacazette. And it's showing. KT's goal, if the keeper's parried it or if it's hit another part of the post and come back out, Bukayo Saka was already in the 6-yard box, ready to sniff it out. And I thought that was I'm just really, really impressed with how we're playing at the moment, to be perfectly honest. You know, I can't sing enough praises. Between those 5 players, they're having a goal involvement, i.e. a goal or an assist, every 55 minutes across the board. Either one of them is scoring or assisting every 55 minutes. But the thing that's impressed me most is not really anything that the stats can show you. It's the nature of the performances. It's the spirit and the togetherness and the intensity that they're all showing. This is what I've been crying out for ages, and I'm now finally starting to see it. One of the stats I was really interested in, I wanted to see how our press had improved in these last 4 games. And again, not a anti-Aubameyang witch hunt, but this one really sums everything up for me. Now, in the previous 15 games, we had pressed successfully to win the ball back within 5 seconds of losing it 28.8% of each game. Now, in the last 4 games, that statistic has increased to 40.1% in every game. Now, that's a huge jump. And that, I know it's just in 4 games, but it shows me what I need to see, that our intensity is there, our togetherness is there, and we are absolutely busting it up to win the ball back real quick. And okay, it is a little bit Man City, it's a little bit Barcelona when Pep Guardiola was there, but it's not a bad blueprint to have, is it? It's about hard work, it's about passion and desire, and it's about those guys on the pitch doing exactly what each and every one of us would do if we were on the pitch, or showing the same desire that we show when we sit in front of our screens watching the game, or when we sit on a seat in a stadium watching the game, and cannot ask for any more than that. So I'm really happy about that. I'll move swiftly on to the transfer market. It'll be really quick. I think probably my next video will be much more in depth about this, but there's 2 players particularly I want to speak about. One potentially incoming, one potentially outgoing. Now, firstly, the outgoing one, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. There's stories coming out that he could potentially be going on loan to Roma, with a view to a roughly £9 million transfer fee in the summer. I haven't got a problem with selling him. It's one of those where he's come through the academy, and some players, they're not going to be more than squad players. So sometimes you have to think, we've got to make some money out of this. You know, it's a business at the end of the day. We've invested in their development, so we need to get some money back. That's absolutely fine. But firstly, I think he's worth more than 9 million. And secondly, the timing of this, if it's going to be a loan in January, the timing is all wrong for me. It makes absolutely no sense. Like I say, it could just be smoke and mirrors, and there might be nothing to it. But we lose 2 central midfielders to AFCON, and you've got everything else, you know, general injuries that could take place, COVID. I don't see why we would loan out somebody who's perfectly capable of sitting in the middle of the park for us and doing a decent job at this point in time. So for me, that's an absolute no. Hopefully that's a non-starter, unless the club have got something else already lined up. The other one I want to talk about is Dusan Vlahovic from Fiorentina. Now he's obviously, you know, he's a top draw striker, and he fits the model of the sort of players that we want to recruit. With the age of the player, the way that he plays, and he would fit into our system really well, I've no doubt about that. But the thing that concerns me is when the story first came out, both him and his advisors were at pains to let everyone know how much he didn't want to come and play for Arsenal Football Club. And he's now saying that he doesn't want to move till December, till the summer, sorry. And the thing that bothers me with this, we may well be able to talk him round and get him on board, but he has a couple of good seasons and he's going to be off, because we're not really where he wants to be. He could go and bag 20, 30 goals in a season, and then you'll probably find him ending up at somewhere like the Etihad or Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, PSG, you know, all the usual suspects. What's the point of us investing in somebody that clearly doesn't see us as a long-term option? I want to see players like Tommy Assey. I've made no secret of my love for this bloke and how happy he looks to be to be part of Arsenal Football Club. That's the sort of player that I want wearing our shirt. I see no point to investing in someone who's not going to be here long term. Just there's no sense to it at all. So move on from that. Like I say, next video I'll go more in depth into potential transfer ins and outs. But for now, that's about it on that. I'll probably take this opportunity. I'm going to move on to Christmas stuff in a minute. A bit of randomness, but like I say, if you like the video and you haven't checked me out before, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would be very, very helpful. Moving on to Christmas. There's a fun anecdote for you first. It didn't happen this year, it happened last year, and I'd forgotten about this. But I was thinking earlier about, you know, if anything interesting happened that I could share with you all. And for anyone who's aware of my teenager lamppost story from a few months ago, it's kind of similar to that. Now, it involves a teenager, and I was working in Milton Keynes last Christmas, and I was crossing over one of the roads, and there's this young lad. He's on a push bike. He's got a bit of a look about him, and he starts like staring me down. And normally, if somebody does that, I'll give him a look of disdain, and they'll just look away. But for some reason, I don't know, he got under my skin a little bit, so I continued staring him out. And we're getting to this point, we're getting closer and closer and closer, and then he just gets level with me, and he goes, "Whatever, Santa." And that really got under my skin. I was like, obviously my stomach is not as flat as it once was, and my beard was much bigger than this, so all the grey's coming through, so I probably did resemble Santa a little bit, but that gave me the right ump. So I carried on staring at him, and we're at the point, like, he's gone past me, I've gone past him, so we're like this, looking at each other. And what he's looking at me, you know, like on the road, where the road meets the pavement, you have like the drainage grills, and his front wheels got wedged in this fucking grill. He didn't completely go over the handlebars, but he like done an endo, and he buckled out like that, and his coolness levels had completely dissipated at this point. So I just started laughing and carried on walking off, and all I could hear as I walked off was him going, "Fuck off." So that was my fun anecdote from Christmases. There's a couple of observations that I've made over this Christmas. There's a few of them. The first one's a Queen's speech. Now, I'm not a royalist by any stretch of the imagination, but obviously the Queen's had a pretty shit year, and there was a bit she said about how there was unfamiliar laugh missing this year. I thought it was really sad. It's like, you know, she was married to Prince Philip for like 70 odd years, and she had to sit on her own in his funeral, and that was a really poignant picture. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I felt really bad for her, and that was pretty emotional, to be honest. The other thing is Christmas, you know, the saying is a time to show goodwill to all men. Slightly outdated, all men and women, or just all people. And I spent a bit of time thinking about those that are less fortunate than me. You know, I've got everything I could have dreamed of 20, 30 years ago. Amazing wife, awesome kids, you know, decent home, nice job. But, you know, there's people that don't have that. There's people that are stuck in abusive relationships, people that don't have a roof over their heads, people that can't afford to, you know, provide their loved ones with presents and things like that. So I just think it's definitely worth sparing a thought for those that are less fortunate than ourselves, and not just keep it to Christmas, but, you know, just fucking do it all the time. It kind of extends to social media and being horrible to people. Just don't fucking do it. Just be nice, just be considerate, and think about others. You know, everyone's got a story, everyone's got a backstory, everyone's got a history, and there are reasons why people are the way they are. So just show kindness and consideration, and don't be a dick. The next thing is, like I said earlier, I had a lovely day yesterday. I went over to my sister's, went over with my missus and my 4 kids, went to see my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew, my mum and dad were there, and it was a really, really great day. But then it got to 3 o'clock, and I was trying to get streamed for the game to have a sneaky watch, and I couldn't. And then we're playing we were playing Pictionary, and everyone started going, "Are you all right, Keith? You're a bit quiet. Are you tired?" So no, I'm fine. And they're like, "Well, what's wrong?" So nothing. I'm fine. And what it actually was it was really bugging me that I couldn't watch the game. I know it sounds really just puerile and spoiled, especially after everything I've just said about thinking about those that are less fortunate than myself. But I just wanted to know how the game was going. And then we moved on to this other game. It was like a trivia thing, and I had this weird knowledge of 90s boy bands. I literally got every single question right. Some I was getting right before my sister had even finished reading the question out, and that was a bit of a concern, that I knew so much about boy bands. That definitely got picked up on. But the last thing I want to talk about, and this is the most important bit about this this Christmas message. Actually, before I go on to that, Crimbo Limbo, I would like to say, lots of you probably not due back to work till what, the 4th of January, and that's great, you know, fair game to you. But for anyone like me whose life is an actual piece of dog shit, who has to go back to work on Wednesday, I feel you, and I've got you, and hopefully next year we'll get a bit more of a break. Anyway, back to the final and most important thing that I want to say about Christmas. Quality Street wrappers. If you're the sort of person that puts the wrappers back in the fucking tin, you're part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You are complete dog shit as far as I'm concerned. Don't fucking do that, because it's absolutely disgusting and it's wrong. What you need to do is be part of the solution, not the problem. When you've got a wrapper, put it in the fucking bin, not back in the tin, because there's somebody like me who loves chocolate, goes into that tin, sees all these wrappers, thinking, yes, fucking gold mine. And as you're digging in, you realise that most of it is empty. It's just like a void of emptiness, and it's not good enough, and it needs to stop. Okay, right, I'm pleased we're clear on that. Right, that's about all I've got to talk about tonight. So I'm going to sign off very quickly. Again, like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, maybe even hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss any future videos. And if you do like this one, feel free to pop back and look at the others. There's like about 37 videos I've done so far. I think it's 38 actually. But until my next one, be good, look after yourselves, and be nice. Catch you next time. Ta-da.